still considered a whiskey. It's just called a white dog whiskey or a corn whiskey. This is totally clear without any color. Whiskey is also an umbrella term. A lot of things fall under the whiskey umbrella. You have things like bourbon, scotch. What is bourbon? Bourbon is whiskey, but it's whiskey made from at least 51% corn instead of all barley or wheat. It then has to be aged no less than 2 years in brand new charred American white oak barrels, and bourbon has to be made in the continental United States. Bourbon does not have to come from Tennessee or Kentucky, but don't ever get in an argument with someone from Tennessee or Kentucky about this fact. Is anybody here from Tennessee or Kentucky? Okay, good. You know what I'm talking about. Most of them will argue through their one tooth that they're correct and you were wrong. You know, you work in a distillery and they do not get one teeth. So I'm sure I'm not referring to you. If I've offended you, you can knock out one of my teeth. It'll be cool. Or when we go into the distillery or the tasting room, I should say, I can just pour you more booze. Now who's offended? Watch all the smart people again. Nobody goes. All right. What is Scotch? You say Irish whiskey, guys. People know it comes from Ireland. You say Canadian whiskey, people know Crazy Canucks up north made it when they weren't playing hockey and sent it down to us. You say Scotch and people lose their goddamn mind. Scotch is just whiskey made in Scotland. That's it. It doesn't have anything to do with peat or the barrels or how many times it's distilled. If you go to Scotland and ask for Scotch, they'll laugh at you because there they call it whiskey. They'll also know you're American, which you usually want to keep under wraps when you're in Europe. Scotch is just whiskey that comes from where? That's it. Please correct people on this. For me, it was my buddy Darren. We would go to parties. He would always bring a good bottle of scotch, pour himself a little bit of scotch in a glass, sit there and he'd swirl it, which he shouldn't do in the first place, by the way. But he would swirl his scotch and he would go, "Oh man, I love scotch, but I can't stand whiskey." I finally said, "You're a dick, it's the same thing." Please feel free to call people out like this. You'll feel so much better about yourselves. You'll educate people. Again, scotch is just whiskey that comes from where? Thank you guys. We're really lucky in our facility. You guys are all standing on 17 inches of concrete slab, and we have very, very high ceilings. So in the summer, and by the way, that is the original redwood ceiling from when this was built, shortly after World War II. Totally impossible to do today with redwood. It is fully functional, very gorgeous, and we're very proud to have that in here. But in the summer, all the heat in the distillery lifts off the ground and rises up to the ceiling, so it keeps the floor of the distillery surprisingly cooler. You guys can feel it in here. Out in the sun, it's nice and warm, it's hot. In here, it's 15 to 20 degrees cooler, and it's because all the heat rises up and the floor keeps everything cool, which is great for the barrels. We don't get drastic expansion and contraction with the change of the temperature throughout the year. It is good sometimes to add some heat to barrels, opens them up, gives them tons of flavor. Like rum from the Caribbean. They turn out awesome aged rum in the Caribbean in 2 years because it's hot, it's humid, wood's opened up, lets a lot of flavor. If you go to a place like the Highlands of Scotland, pretty cold almost year round, so it takes them a really long time sometimes to turn out good aged scotch because the wood is contracted and not letting a lot of flavor into the booze. Think about that next time you buy a really old bottle of Highland scotch. It doesn't have a lot of flavor to it. Usually means it's in a very cold environment. Okay? We used to go through all these barrels in about a week to 2 week process, taste them, get flavor profiles. I'm not going to lie to you guys, this became extremely unproductive. After drinking whiskey all day, the last barrel, oh, it's amazing, this is the best thing. Because we've been drinking whiskey all day, right? Not very functional. Now we go through it more of a 3-month to 6-month process, get the flavor profile, make sure it's good. Once it's good, we pull it out of the wood and put it in the silk containers over here to my left. Once it's in steel, no longer pulling any flavor out of the wood, so it's essentially trapped in time. It's like having a bottle of 20-year-old scotch. You hang on to it for another 20 years, it doesn't make it a 40-year-old scotch. You should have just drank it. You wasted 20 valuable years you could have been drunk from this scotch. It doesn't pull flavor from glass. It has to be in wood. Okay? Another thing about especially dark liquor, guys, do not keep your bar in a window or in direct sunlight or heat. It ruins your booze. A lot of people like to showcase their alcohol and put it in a window or put it where there's sunlight. This is going to ruin the alcohol, guys. The heat creates vapor to rise off the alcohol, so when you taste it, all you get is that vapor. Makes it taste very hot and can ruin it. Okay? Try to keep it out of direct sunlight. We have some barrels here that are as young as 3 years, and some that are as old as 15, maybe even 20. But I'm not going to lie to you guys, those 15 to 20-year-old barrels are probably never going to make it to the public. We just drink the shit out of it. It's not anything personal, but yeah, we're not going to get it out to you guys. If you know anything about wineries, you know there's something called the angel share. You can fill up a barrel totally all the way and come back a year or two later, and the barrel's got about that much in it. It's because the wine is soaked into the wood. that much, calling it the angel share. Around here, it goes down about that much, and that's called the employee share. That's just that. Okay? Any questions about whiskey, bourbon, scotch in this section before we talk a little bit about gin and we wrap it up? Yes, sir.